All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful idea, one that helps explain why our world is changing so fast and in such dramatic ways. It's called structural inevitability, and it's kind of like a hidden law of the universe that shapes everything from AI to how we think. Okay, so let's start with this central puzzle, the big question we're trying to figure out today. We're seeing it everywhere, right? Small teams are outmaneuvering huge corporations. Individuals with just a laptop are creating things that used to take massive organizations. How is that even possible? Now, I know what you're thinking. The easy answer is just technology. Faster computers, the internet, better software. But that's not the whole story, not even close. Those things are the what, but they don't explain the why. They don't explain the deep principle that's making all of this happen. So let's really dig into this shift, because we're not just talking about some new tools. We're talking about a completely new game with a completely new set of rules for how things get done. This slide really just nails the contrast. I mean, the old world, that was all about brute force. You wanted to do something big. You needed big money, a big team, a huge institution. But now, something else is going on. It's not about force anymore. It's about alignment. It's about getting the structure right. And that's turning out to be way more important than just having the most stuff. So what is this new secret ingredient? Well, the key to this whole puzzle, this entire shift, comes down to one single powerful concept that's kind of like the universe's hidden amplifier. And that concept is resonance. Let's get super clear on what we mean by resonance. It has nothing to do with pushing harder. It's all about pushing at the right time. It's when you feed a little bit of energy into a system, but you do it in perfect sync with its natural rhythm. And when you do that, those tiny inputs start to add up and build into something enormous. The absolute best way to understand this is to just think about pushing someone on a swing, right? If your timing is all wrong, if you're pushing when the swing is coming back at you, you're not getting anywhere. You're just fighting it. But if you time it perfectly and give a gentle push right as it reaches its peak, that little push adds up. The next one adds a little more. And pretty soon, with barely any effort, that swing is flying higher and higher. And there it is. That's the huge takeaway from that simple idea. Timing is greater than force. In any system that's capable of resonance, a small, smart, perfectly timed action will beat a huge, clumsy, poorly timed one. Every single time. It's about working with the system, not against it. And this is why this is like a universal law. Resonance doesn't care what something is made of. It could be a bridge, a computer chip, or even a social idea. All that matters is that the system has these three things in its structure. It has to be able to store energy, it needs a feedback loop, and it has to care about the timing of inputs. If you have those three things, resonance is basically inevitable. Okay, so this is where things get really wild, almost a little sci-fi. If resonance is purely about structure, what on earth does that mean for something like a computer simulation? We've always thought of simulations as being kind of fake, right? They're useful approximations, good models, but they're not the real thing. But this whole idea of resonance forces us to completely rethink that. A simulation might not just be a picture of reality, it can be a genuine instance of it. This right here, this quote, is the absolute core of it all, the principle of structural inevitability. If a behavior is guaranteed to happen because of a system's structure, then it doesn't matter what the system is made of. That behavior is real. So think about what that really means. A simulation that perfectly captures the structure of resonance isn't just imitating it, it is literally obeying the exact same physical and mathematical laws. The way energy builds up in the code is just as real, just as inevitable as the way it builds up in a physical bridge that's starting to shake apart in high winds. So now that we have this core principle, let's look at how this one idea explains a whole bunch of mysteries in fields that seem like they have nothing to do with each other. So let's talk about AI. You hear about these models that train for months and learn nothing, and then suddenly, seemingly overnight, they gain a brand new skill. That's not magic. That is a resonance effect. The millions of bits of data being fed in are those small, timed pushes. They're accumulating quietly inside the model structure until, bam, a new capability just locks into place. Or what about that aha moment? You're wrestling with an idea for days, and then suddenly it all just clicks. That's cognitive resonance. It's a pattern you've seen over and over again, finally aligning with the mental models inside your brain, and a new understanding just forms. And think about society. This explains why huge social movements can feel like they just explode out of nowhere. A revolution doesn't start with a bang. It starts with a clear message repeated over and over that starts to resonate with more and more people. It builds quietly, under the surface, until it hits a tipping point and becomes this unstoppable force. And this slide is where it all comes together. It shows how these systems that look totally different, AI, our own beliefs, social movements, are secretly running on the same operating system. Look at the structure. An AI stores information in its weights and gets feedback from gradients. A human belief system stores information in mental models and gets feedback from confirmation bias. A social movement stores its story and gets feedback from the media. The medium is different, but the fundamental structure, it's identical. So, what are we supposed to do with all of this? I mean, this is more than just a cool science fact. It's actually a pretty profound philosophy for how to make things happen. What this tells us is that we live in a universe that rewards alignment way more than it rewards force. It rewards patience, it rewards having a coherent message, and it rewards the intelligence to understand a system's structure instead of just trying to bash it into submission. It means progress isn't always about pushing harder. A lot of the time, it's about listening, finding the rhythm, and getting in sync with it. I love this quote. With resonance, time becomes your best friend. Every small, correct action you take doesn't just disappear. It gets stored. It accumulates. You're not just making things bigger, you're patiently letting an inevitable outcome emerge. And that leaves all of us with one final and I think pretty powerful question to think about. If the universe really is built on this principle of alignment, it kind of forces you to ask, what systems am I a part of? And what signals, what ideas am I resonating with day in and day out? Because understanding that is the quiet power that's now available to every single one of us.